Just for all.
It's the time for public comments. I don't see anyone wanting public comment. So we will move ahead to the consent agenda. Does any commissioner wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Barney, second Crivens. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda has been approved. New business item number 1, Gons.
We're considering a point to paint the combustion turbines. Both of the combustion turbines are showing rust spots in the casings and need to be painted. Dave Frank, one of the operators at my plant, requires the last time the casings were painted was 1990, and the work was done under contract to KCP&L. Please note there are some locations where the paint has failed and the metal casing has severe rust, and in some cases holes that are rusted in the casings and the doors. Bids were previously requested May 4th. Of 3 bids received during the bid review, it was determined that the specification needed to be expanded to describe the casing preparation for repainting, and was resubmitted. Should this work be delayed, there'd be additional failure of the existing coating, and the cost of the repair will increase. You can see the bid amounts. Low bid came from Performance Contracting at $20,705. All bids are in order. The low bid being Performance approval. The staff recommends approving a recommendation to the city administrator to award service and material contract to paint combustion turbines 1 and 2 to Performance Contracting in the amount not to exceed $20,705. You can see some of the damage in the lower part of that door. It's got holes in it. It's a little hard to see by the picture. I'm just working from the top left to the right. Top right, that's one of the radiators on the south end of the machine, and you can see that there are a lot of discoloration, a lot of rust. We're going to have to knock that rust down, primer it, and paint it.
So I assume we're probably looking at sandblasting?
It's a technique that is similar to that, yes.
Okay, so in the spots that are too much to salvage,
We're going
Are
to
they
have
going
to
to-
actually cut them out and weld them in.
let them back in? Okay, and that's
And
part of this as
that-
far as that material and labor?
No, actually, we're going to do that part ourselves.
Okay,
Okay, but they're going to knock the bad spots down. We're going to find the holes. We're going to repair the holes. They're going to come back in, primer it, and then paint it.
okay, very good.
And that's a part of the did they write that in, or is that?
Yeah, that's in the contract. We'll do the repair of any holes, but they'll do the getting everything cleaned down to a surface. They'll do the primer coat, and then they'll do the finish coat.
Okay.
Continuing on, you see another spot where the paint is just abraded away, so there's just nothing left. Looking to the right, this part of that is from temperature, and part of it is just worn away. Again, you see the attack of the rust spots there, and the fire extinguisher. You can see places where it's pretty well almost burned right through. Further on, it's pretty endemic to the whole machine, so it needs a coat of paint.
So 27 years is probably pretty good lifespan on the coat of paint. Is there any sort of a expected time frame for how long this new paint job would last, or is there a warranty?
We're asking for 10 years.
What's the life of the machine? Or what's in there that, are we gonna need to replace that in the next 10 years, or?
Hope not.
Currently, that's a hard one to answer.
Well, what, I see GE Electric.
These are the turbines.
Oh, okay.
These are the combustion turbines.
It's just it's a big metal
Right.
box over them, basically.
It's an enclosure for the turbine, and it
So-
protects it from the weather.
You can't just buy the enclosure separately. I mean, are we gonna have to do this eventually? Can you buy the enclosure and not the turbine?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you could build a whole building over the top of it. Or, that's something for the future.
Okay.
I can't tell you what it's going to be like. We may have a different technique to protect it in 20 years.
Okay.
Is this,
But it needs something now.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're not gonna have it in another 10 years, 20 years.
without seeing the specification for the paint, is there like a UL listing requirement for the paint that they use in the application?
We went out to two companies, Sherwin-Williams and Tnimic. Both of them provided recommendations as to the type of paint, and that was written into the specification.
Okay, so there's no UL listing that this would need to meet for this type of enclosure?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Are we going back with white?
We're going to go back with a color similar to the one you see there.
Just
And
curious.
personally, I'm not a big color kind of guy, so
I was just curious.
as long as I get paint on it, I'm happy.
Most GE Rain 5, they usually paint it gray, navy gray, or like kind of a light color.
Other questions?
I make a motion to approve the recommendation to the city administrator to award the service contract to paint the combustion turbines 1 and 2 to Performance Contracting Incorporated to the amount not to exceed $20,705.
Second?
Motion Barney, second Lerner. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. New business item number 2, Don?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Evening.
Last year, the line maintenance division, which is the, not the electric part, but the water distribution and wastewater collection line maintenance, was transferred from Public Works to Utilities. The line maintenance division is tasked with maintaining leak-free the water distribution system and a wastewater collection system free of obstructions. That's why we bought the camera. Right now, the division consists of one crew leader, 2 senior maintenance workers, 5 maintenance workers, for a total of eight employees. For 2018, we'll be requesting 2 additional workers. Right now, the line maintenance staff, they share space with the street maintenance workers, and they're located at the Public Works shop, located at 329 South Meadowbrook Circle, used by the American Legion. Due to the number of workers in the shop, line maintenance staff uses the spare parts storage or building to conduct meetings and use that as a workplace. And the crew leader usually shares a space with 2 other employees. So it'll probably about a 10 by 10 room. There's 3 people in there. And sometimes very difficult to have a conversation with the employees. The crew leader have a conversation with his workers because there's 2 other people. So I've been there. So you have to tell the 2 guys, hey, can you leave the office? So it's a little inconvenient. So my opinion, and you'll see the pictures, I don't think the space they're currently using they are very adequate. And a more suitable workspace environment is necessary. On the picture, you'll see the public workshop building, the outside, then the side view. Then on your lower left hand, you see a table, another desk, and that's a workstation, which is inside the spare parts or material building. You have another view, and we use the middle for having meetings. Then on the far south of the building, far west, we have another, basically a piece of wood with some 2x4s to make it like a desk. So they use that like as a workstation. And on the other picture, you see the office space shared by the crew leader. So I'm saying I don't think that's a very adequate, appropriate space for the line maintenance workers. Several years ago, there was a study made, a feasibility study made to relocate the public workshop to another location. Due to other priorities, that plan of moving the public works shop is not in the near future. Maybe 5-7 years down the road. So a way to accommodate the line maintenance personnel on a more suitable office space, I published an RFP for a 60-month lease modular office building. That was done in October 4th. And originally we requested a brand new building with and we have certain specifications. Part of the attachment is a floor plan of the office that we requested, which will have 4 offices, a meeting room, 2 bathrooms, 1 with a shower, and another space for maybe a locker or a kitchenette. It would also have, it will be set up with water, wastewater, and electric connections. And also they will have Cat6 for internet or Ethernet at the offices and also in the meeting room. So that's what we requested. So we received 4 responses, and the companies, the providers that gave us proposal was Williams Scotsman, Aries Building Systems, Sustainable Modular Management, and PacVan Incorporated. So the selection committee met on November 9th, and we reviewed the proposals, and they exceeded $100,000. So then the committee said, well, let's request a used or refurbished modular office building. So we received a modified proposal, and after doing the ratings and comparisons, the committee selected Williams Scotsman. We gave him a 5.0 overall rating and a cost of $73,708, $708 for the 60-month lease of the office building. Originally, we had requested an ADA ramp, but that is about an additional $15,000 for the 60-month lease. So that was taken out of the price. So I'd like to recommend the UAC to recommend this to the City Council for the lease of for a 60-month lease for a building, modular office building, at a cost of $73,708. Now there's a picture of the Public Works yard. On the top you see the Public Workshop. On the middle you have a building. That's where line maintenance currently have their meetings and the workstations. And the proposed location of the modular office building will be the area name as MOB. So they will still so they will still be close to the materials, trucks, and equipment they need to do their work.
I've got a whole lot of questions, but
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
guessing you guys do too, so, go for it.
You've said, I don't know, lease several times. Is this for a 60-month lease, so we're not gonna own it, so this is an every year cost?
Yep.
Okay. And
We did before we did the RFP, we requested some proposals. And since the cost was more than $50,000, we had to do an RFP. But if you're looking into purchasing a new building, it will be around $110,000, $120,000.
so how long are we planning on keeping this?
5 years.
So we could buy one for 150?
You can buy one for 110, 120.
A modular building, still. Yeah.
Right. Or we can lease one for 5 years for 73,000 a year.
That includes installation.
73 is the total over 5 years.
Oh, okay. I'm like, this isn't.
That includes installation, setup, and then removal and taking it back,
Okay.
returning the office building.
So 73,000 for 5 years. Okay, that's 60 months. My bad. All right. So
Then they take it away.
you're right.
And take it
And
away.
then by then we should
hope
have.
they have a
the new-
new public works shop
Okay.
somewhere.
I'm done for now.
Well, that brings up another question. I guess why wouldn't we look at getting a new one? And I mean, are these things easy to sell at the end of the 5 years? Or I mean, what if it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years before we get a new public works building? Do we have plans already for?
There was a feasibility study done 3 years ago. That's all we have.
And what was its recommendation?
There were a couple of options. There's a existing facility, or it's a TV repair. Somebody has a building next to the workshop, to the public shop, and they were planning to buy that building, but they didn't want to sell. So the other option was to relocate the building. Now the land that was bought for the Justice
Mhm.
building, there
Talk.
is talk in consideration to put Public Works and Parks and Rec in there eventually. When, I don't know.
That's
So
more
there's
than
a-
5 years away.
So there is no current time frame or anything slated for a CIP
No.
saying that there's a building in the 5-year plan?
Nope.
Even at the 5 years when this goes away?
That's right. There's no plans.
What trade-offs are there with a used versus new? Are there any detriments to having a used one versus a new one as far as over the 5 years?
Buying one or leasing one?
Can we buy a used one?
Yeah, can we buy a already
Yeah,
previous
that's
lease?
what I meant.
Yeah,
It's about the same price of the,
new one.
with the same amount as the 60-month lease, pretty much the same.
So can we not buy it?
Anyways, we could.
But
Then
we
you have
do
a building,
something
then
with
you have,
it.
And then you've got the girl to do it.
then you have a
later.
building 5 years down the road that you have to do something with it.
And we have to pay for this now. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, also right now, I think part of the idea of a lease is that you're sort of helping push the hand of the city government to, which I know is wrong, but I mean,
That
you know,
doesn't work.
I can see the city government coming back 5 years from now if we bought and going, you've got this modular building, you know, despite the fact that it may be 10, 15 years old, just use that, you know, keep utilizing the same building.
Well, speaking of that, what's the plans if we have this new building, even temporarily, for the old building? that we saw the pictures of?
That building is probably 4 times the modular office building.
No,
It's
I
a
mean,
lot bigger.
What are we gonna do with it?
I don't know.
Store parts in it.
Well,
I mean, are we gonna
Wouldn't the
repurpose it
public-
some way?
wouldn't the Public Works Department utilize that building instead of trying to, they could still fit in it,
I would think.
just fine, it just wouldn't be utilized at overcapacity.
Well, okay, so that leads to something else. Have our 2 additional FTEs been approved for the 18 budget? I
They
don't
were.
remember off the top of my head.
They were not approved because when the decision was made, they were trying to reduce the general
FTEs.
fund.
Yep.
So this position has nothing to do with the general fund, it's an enterprise fund.
Okay, that's
So
right.
that's
sure.
why I'm gonna request next year, mid-year, to reconsider those 2 positions.
So,
So we have, sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead.
If we do 74,000 a year, or for every 5 years, and say it takes 10 years, and we do this another 5 years, that's 150, and we could have bought a brand new one.
True.
So,
And we probably don't have any designs already drawn up or estimates for what it would cost just to build a building, do we? I mean,
I'm not
something
sure if it's,
similar that we could just, actually own.
but I know it's gonna be a lot more than 150.
Well, right. Because, I mean, you probably put it down a concrete slab and everything else, you're talking more money.
I'll probably estimate to be close to maybe 400,000, half a million.
Is there a lead time on getting this? So if we say, let's execute this lease, can I drop it off in a week or 2, or is it 6 months out? How fast can they get it to us?
In the building, if we made a decision today, we should have it by the end of the month.
So, because we don't have the FTEs, and I realize it's not an ideal place as is, but could we delay this 6 months? And possibly look at our other options in that time as far as what it would cost to purchase, and if we want to, where we can put that in a 5-year plan or 10-year plan as far as a CIP, to see what kind of dollars we really have over that time frame.
I mean, worst case is, they will be in the same place
Right, I
they're
mean,
now.
it's not ideal.
yeah.
It'd be nice if they had a nicer facility, and I
No.
think that's where we got to go. I'm just wondering if we could provide them with something better that's overall cheaper in the 5 or 10 year run for the city, because we do build a building sooner by putting it on a CIP for 3.5 years out or whatever, and it gets factored in, and then we only need to do this for 2 years or whatever because it's on the plan. Because what I'm worried about right now is that if we do this, we still don't have it on the plan. So there's no guarantee right now that in 5 years we build a building or that we have one ready. So that's no different to me than if we don't do this now and we figure that out and then we put it on a CIP and then we do this for a shorter window.
Yeah, I think we're getting the cart before the horse a little bit. Yeah.
I would assume we could extend the lease at the end of 5 years.
Probably.
Well, then we'll gladly take our money.
Yeah.
By not having the ADA ramp, does that present any problems for us from
No, because we were planning to actually build the ramp with our resources.
Okay.
It
And
was
that's going to be
200
less than $6,000.
It was $200 a month for the ramp, times 60 a month. You're talking 12,000. Plus the setup was another 5,000. Then the tear it down was another 2,000. So it's like $20,000.
Okay. So did we kind of just arbitrarily pick 5 years then?
I did.
Okay.
I think we should be able to have something in place before the 5 years.
Do we have any concerns about this being a modular building since we're in Coronado Valley? Versus, something that's actually in the ground? I realize,
There's other modular buildings already.
I know that, but do we want to add another one versus sticks in the ground? I realize tornadoes tear those up too, but is that a concern at all? That we would have an issue either with more liability? Do we have to cover this for liability from an insurance perspective, or is that included in the lease?
I think that's including the lease.
Okay.
Any damage to the building is included.
When do we have, I guess, when would we do that, not the RFP, or what's the,
The CIP?
yeah, when's the new CIP?
It's gonna start March of next year, March, April.
March, April.
So it'll be 2019, 2023.
So I like the idea of postponing this 6 months. Granted, it's not ideal, and I've worked in tight spots before, and it's not comfortable, but I would like to get a plan before we just say, here's a spot to put you. I make a motion to table this for 6 months.
Second?
Nope. Okay.
I like the idea of tabling. I don't know if we should put a time frame on it. Just because we don't know exactly what's going to happen come next year as far as
Well,
conversations.
If we're talking about putting it in a plan, that CIP is 5 months away. That would give us a month to put everything back together and present it to
I
us.
just meant since you said it's starting in March, and
Oh.
if conversations could get handled on this earlier, we could.
So if we table it, will it come to us every month until,
I think it would. It's
Yeah.
unfinished business.
right,
You can always retable it.
right. I was making less work.
understand.
I make a motion to table it with no time frame.
In second?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion, Barney, second, Crivens. Further discussion? Ryan? Like you want to say something? No? Okay,
Now, one comment.
sure.
If you want to have a more permanent building, that has to come, city council has to tell me to proceed with that.
Correct.
I think tabling it's a good idea.
A bad? What'd you say? I
I
didn't
think
hear you.
tabling it's a good idea. I was wondering why we were leasing this.
I don't think we're probably going to get away with not having to lease something in short term. But I'd like to have a long-term plan before we spend money on a short-term plan, just because we need one. So, any further comments, questions? Okay, all in favor to table this motion?
Aye.
Motion is tabled. Is that first? Maybe a second time we tabled something.
I tabled it something before. Or I made a
Look at
motion
you,
to
Clint.
table it.
You're a rebel. All right. Gons, what do you have for discussion items?
Back in, I probably was late last year, the commission approved the fabrication of a relay panel to be installed for the transmission line protection between sub 1 and sub 2. Then this year you approved a contractor, Capital Electric, for the installation of that relay panel. So that relay panel was tested and put in place last month, November. So it's up and it's operational now. So if we have any fault on the transmission line, it will be protected and the breakers will open. Then-
Raccoons can show up then, huh?
What was that?
We can have the raccoons come back then?
They can come back and it'll open, so we won't burn any transformers. On distribution, the last year was approved 2 aerial bucket trucks. We received the large one probably 3 weeks ago. So we signed the lease, so we're using that large aerial bucket truck now. And then we installed a new fuse cabinet at the intersection of North Center and West Madison.
That's where the car hit it?
I think that was hit by a car, yes.
After the picture was taken, or is that
Before.
the
This
second
was,
one?
This was back in
Almost,
August, maybe? July?
probably, yeah, early this year.
So is that the second one? or-
That's that's a new one.
Okay.
Then distribution did some directional boring to install underground electric cable in Fountain Circle to provide Fountain Gate subdivision with the back feed. Then due to a lot of the outages due to wildlife, we put some protection around transformers in Gardner Manor subdivision. That's a video.
Dun, dun,
I thought he was trying to
dun,
sell
dun,
his
dun,
car or
dun, 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 dun. Oh, I see him up there. Wow.
How did we get that video?
Yeah. And that's wonderful.
So that's what happens when we don't have any protection.
How did he know that was gonna happen? Or does he just drive around?
My gosh.
There is the victim.
Oh my.
I'm thinking PETA may not approve of this.
Rest in peace.
Is this from here?
I don't know who, I know it's
Bruce found it online.
Bruce.
Oh, okay.
It's like an educational video for kids.
Yeah.
Why you don't touch power lines, right? There you go.
This is what could happen.
Touch him, just don't be phased with
Right.
phase or phase your grip.
Remember the bottle rocket in with the hot dogs?
Then on the Kill Creek, we usually conduct school tours. There was the Gardner Edgerton High School biology class. They're usually very curious. We have a microscope, so we show them different microorganisms, so they're pretty fascinated with that.
Cool.
We, I think it was this year, the commission approved the replacement of the generator at Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant. So it was put in service last week. On other business, Ryan requested what kind of rebate programs are out there, and they're various from replacing heat water heaters, doing a energy assessment, and you get so much rebate if you put in insulation improve your insulation in a home, or you can put a heat pump. So there are various programs. So very hard to,
Federally. Or is that? city?
that's city.
Okay.
Then Casey Pennell has a LED if you go to Lowe's and buy an LED, they will deduct I don't know if it's 5 cents, 20 cents, or $1. But when you buy the LED, they'll deduct a percentage, and that cost goes to KCP&L, and they'll pay for it.
Okay, say that one more time.
KCP&L with Lowe's, if you buy an LED bulb, let's say $5, so 50 cents will be deducted from that cost, it'll be $4.50. And KCP&L will pay for that 50 cents.
Gotcha.
So you have to do no paperwork, you just buy it and automatically 50 cents is deducted.
Even if you're not a KCPL customer?
No, you have to be a KCP&L
Okay.
customer.
Okay.
Then there's other programs that you do an assessment and you will give the homeowner, you can give him depending on the size of the home, you can give him up to 5, 7 LEDs and some other things to promote energy savings. So there's a lot of things, so I don't know what specifically you want me to.
Well, somebody had asked about rebates for various, I don't know, like,
Nest.
yeah, smart thermostats but I think at the last meeting we thought maybe it was funded by government agencies and not Gardner Energy.
Yeah, but KCP&L, I know Duke Energy and Westar, they'll replace a thermostat. They put a smart one, but in order for that to work, you need to have like a dispatcher that can lower the set point if you have a peak. We're not at that point right now.
Yeah, do we have anything,
Do we have
the
any?
outlook for AMI and AMR?
Nothing.
Is that something we could look at?
I think it was proposed
We've talked about it before.
4 years ago,
Yeah, it's a
and
lot.
the cost was about $5 million.
It's a lot of money.
So right now, I think it's close to maybe $2 million.
I mean, and that was to roll out to the entire city, right?
Yeah.
What is this thing?
So AMI and AMR. AMR is automated meter reading.
Oh, that's
So
right. Okay.
basically, they wouldn't have to get out of the trucks and go to
Right.
the meter, and
We have some of those.
we
on
can
the
get
water.
real-time information. AMI, what's the I stand for? It's basically control. So I don't know what the I stands for though. I'm drawing a blank. But basically, it's the electric utility would be able to monitor everybody's usage, and then during certain hours of the day, you could adjust your thermostat, let's say plus or minus 2 degrees. So 1 o'clock and some businesses sucking a bunch of energy, we could set a bunch of houses and drop them 2 degrees.
And that can
in
be
the winter
bypassed,
or 2 up in the summer or whatever, right? And there's usually a range, they can't go too far, and it gets into questions of whether or not people want the utility messing with those settings.
It sounds like
But
government
it's
overreach.
They're compensated with a free smart thermostat usually.
that, or sometimes a discount, on the rate, or it just depends on how it's been rolled out. Different places do it differently.
And the benefit to Gardner Energy would be they can keep their peak.
Yeah, we can improve our load factor indirectly, right? Our peak wouldn't be so much higher from our base as it currently is. We could do this number, which would help us when we do our wholesale power contracts, and just overall expense for buying off the market. But yes, it's an investment up front, and then you've got the public has to be on board whether or not they want to do that. And I don't know, where people would stand on that. As far as the control, the meter reading, that's not really invasive in any way. So that one's nice.
So do the AMRs, because I know I got upgraded to I had the knob, or what is it, digital, and now or analog, and now I'm digital. Is that Not this, I mean, that's
That's
not
not-
AMR?
But that meter can be converted to a smart meter.
Okay.
Has all the functions. The only thing that's you cannot do is transmit the data.
Okay.
So you're required to have radios or towers that will capture the data and send it somewhere so we can collect the information.
Gotcha.
Now with a smart or AMI, you could look at your, if you want to play, you can enter a website and look at your daily peaks and you can look at the numbers. There's a lot of things you can do with the information.
Well, and then depending on the system, the homeowner might be able to adjust their thermostat remotely, right? Kind of like Nest.
Yeah.
And so, and then, yeah, there's questions of, would the utility even have the ability to change things? And then if so, what are the ranges and limits and times and et cetera, et cetera? And
Sounds like
it's a long conversation,
Yeah.
and a lot of money, but it's probably a conversation to bring back up just to have. Even if it wasn't to all the residents, you know, just your big businesses. I mean, for instance, like the schools during the summer. There probably wouldn't be too much harm most days, I don't know for sure, of raising the thermostat a couple degrees, right? So there's things like that we could entertain the idea at least. Doesn't mean to go anywhere, but research.
Well, that will require some kind of upgrading the meters. Then you need to buy a energy management software and somebody that can be actually doing all the.
So you said earlier it was 5 million 4 years ago and roughly 2 million?
2 million. That
maybe
includes
today?
water and electric.
Okay.
Yeah, and when we looked at it, it was just electric. I didn't think it had water back then. But technology's come a ways.
Yeah. Good deal.
So that's all I have for other business.
So sorry to stay on this topic. So to recap, if you can do a water pump or a heat pump
Heat
and
pump,
insulation.
you can get a gas water heater. So there's a lot of things you can do that will help lower your energy cost.
Right. So
and then
heat
you
pump and insulation there's a rebate from the city itself.
That's my research.
Okay. Just checking. That's
That's not out on the website anywhere, is it?
no.
Our website, no, but you know, I got it from Duke Energy, somewhere in California, Florida Power and Light. They have very similar programs, but it's the actual utility that provides the rebates.
Do we have any mechanism in utility billing to provide those rebates ourselves right now?
I think it could be done.
Okay, so now I'm confused. So you're saying there's a feasibility to do it, or we have that feasibility right now?
As far as the electric, as
No,
far as
like the rebates.
no, we have to set up a program, and then we can always
okay.
deduct
There's no existing program.
Okay, I got it.
We
That's,
could
that's
create
what-
a set
I think we have all the mechanisms to put it in place, but we don't have anything right now.
okay, that's what I missed. I was just.
Like a
Yeah,
$50 rebate, you can deduct it from the electric bill or whatever,
That's not what you heard,
or cut a check.
right? Okay. All right.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion Cribbins, second Barney. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John. That was a good meeting.
Discussion.